going to talk about camera controls inside of Runway. So essentially allowing you to adjust the cinematic movements inside of your generated videos. Now, these same camera movements can be applied inside of Pika, but the Runway interface is a little bit easier to use, so we're going to focus on Runway specifically for this lesson. So what we need first is to drop in an image. So I have this image of this alien and this like kind of market here, and we'll just drop it into our image field inside of Runway. And you'll notice that I'm in the image and description section. So I always like being able to kind of prompt in just kind of the movement that I want to see, as opposed to just like Runway, give me whatever I want. So in this instance, I'm going to say an alien looks at some food with excitement. It'll say surprise. An alien, how about an alien in a busy market? Looks at some food with excitement and surprise. So our movement right now, if we look at our kind of wheel here, our motion slider is set to 5, which is default. I'm going to go ahead and just generate this by default, and then we'll keep moving forward. So let's go ahead and generate that. That's being generated. So let's go down here to our settings and get started here. So let's click on our settings wheel. Again, we're going to turn off interpolation and turn off upscale, because the Runway algorithm is not amazing for upscaling or interpolating. We do want the watermark removed, which is nice. And let's go ahead and click on this kind of motion icon here. And instead of adjusting the motion here, I'm actually going to go in and click Advanced Camera Control. So inside of here, you'll see some different buttons that you can essentially select to prompt different movements. So you have your horizontal movement, your vertical movement, your zoom, and then your roll. And you can't select these with all of the options selected, so you do have to pick and choose, but you can pair a few of them together. So for example, in this scene, let's say that we actually want to kind of zoom out and kind of get an overview of the food that this alien is looking at. So I'm going to do a horizontal movement to the left, and maybe we want a zoom out as well. And you can also adjust the speed here, so it goes all the way up to 10. For this specific scene, I think we want just a little bit more of a subtle movement, so we'll just set the speed to 2. So we're going to the left and we are zooming out, and let's go ahead and generate. So I also want to showcase some of the other movements. So I'm just going to pick a few other ones here. Maybe we want to hand up to see a busy market, and we'll zoom in. I'm not saying that that would be a great movement. I probably wouldn't pick that movement, but let's just go ahead and generate it for illustration purposes. And let's do one more. So how about this time we will do a roll to the right, which is a very uncommon movement in cinema. It's used every now and then, but it's not typically used very often. And perhaps we also want to zoom out. So it's going to be a really trippy scene here, and we'll go ahead and generate that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we get here. So this one has no movement whatsoever. Let's play it back. And I would say that this is a failed roll, so it's not really great. And there's kind of some like random things that are popping up here. So not the best roll, but it is static, right? So now let's take a look at this one here. Go to the beginning and play it back. You can see that it kind of pans out, zooms out at the same time, and reveals what the alien is looking at. Cool. You can see that he actually becomes a little out of focus there at the end, which is a really interesting choice, I think, a lot of times whenever you are dealing with footage that moves in and out. If it's working with a prime lens or a lens that's doesn't actually change the focus, then you would expect that that focal plane actually would follow as the camera moves backwards. So it actually is like pretty accurate to the way in which a camera would operate, which is pretty interesting. And let's take a look at this footage here. So it just kind of zooms up and to the left. It's pretty good. The alien, his face kind of begins to break down towards the end, but it is kind of interesting. And then finally, let's take a look at our rotation shot here. So same thing, you could see that it's a pretty trippy movement. I don't know if we would really use this on a project, but it, looks pretty interesting. So essentially, that's how you move cameras using Runway. You can play around with it, re-roll certain movements. It's really entirely up to you.